Hello. Thank you for joining this week's call. For those of you doing the Elevate Your Everyday Challenge, you received two emails talking about cold exposure yesterday. One was for this week's challenge. We are focusing on getting cold this week. Those of you that have already started, good job. I did my cold plunge this morning and we just lowered our temperature down another 3 degrees, and I will say we just got a cold plunge at our house. So last year I did cold showers. This winter I'm doing cold plunging. And it took me about a week to start to just love it. And now it's the hardest part of my morning, but my favorite part of I look forward to it every morning and I just get excited to do it because I feel so good after. So if you hate it right now, day one, or maybe day two, if you started yesterday, just give it time, give it a little bit of time. And also I will say easing in. So we started week one at 55 degrees for 5 minutes. And then a few days in, we moved it to 50 degrees and stayed at 5 minutes because that's still, my goal is 3 to 5 minutes. So that 5 minutes still felt doable. And then we just brought it down to 48 degrees. And I did 5 minutes this morning, but I was planning on doing 3 and I just felt fine. So I stayed in for 5 but I think as we bring it down, I'll probably go to 3. I don't plan on going below 40 degrees. My goal is just really have it be challenging, shiver, and stay in that 3 to 5 minute range, because more than 3 minutes is really where the research is showing the benefits start to come. So don't try to be at 38 degrees your first time and hate your life. Ease into it. So I just wanted to start with that, it's just like training, right? Minimum dose for effectiveness. So what is the minimum dose to be effective? 3 minutes, and it should be cold. So maybe you start at 60 degrees for 3 minutes and then work your way up to 5 minutes. And once you can do 5 minutes there for, 2 to 7 days, then bring it down in temperature and then just keep adjusting. David, who did our call last week, he gave me a good metaphor. I always get the two mixed up, you guys, but I think it's analogy, where think of it like weightlifting. One super heavy set is not going to elicit hypertrophy, right? You're not going to be building muscle. Where if you do 3 or 4 sets at a moderate weight, that is going to allow you to get stronger, build muscle. So think of it like that. Jumping in at really, really cold for 20 seconds isn't really going to do much. We'd rather you brought the temp up and did it for at least 3 minutes to get the benefits. So hopefully everyone is feeling excited there. Any thoughts? Anyone feeling really good? Anyone hating it so far? Guys can hype up.
I've had this similar experience too, Michaela. I was probably one of the last people to be okay, fine, I'll get on this cold plunge train. And I hated it at first. And then I've come to kind of look forward to it. I can't say I enjoy every last second of it.
Yeah.
But there's something about being able to check off first thing in the morning that I've already done something tough, right?
Yeah.
I've already accomplished this. And then the lasting effects throughout the day, I'm just a little bit more brighter. And it is the strangest thing, but you kind of start to crave some of that cold. I know that there were a couple of messages on our groups about showers versus plunges. I happen to think a plunge is way easier than a shower.
It is, totally.
It's just cut and dry. You're in, you're out. Whereas a shower, I find myself right, I can turn around this way, I can turn around that way, I can get one leg in, right?
Yes.
And whatever reason, I think mentally it's just you're all in or not. So
yeah,
for anyone out there struggling with the showers, if you have an option to plunge, I would try that.
Yeah, even if it's just dumping a big bowl of ice in your bathtub to start, that's great. Get fully submerged. I try to go up to my neck. And yes, the showers are hard. It's definitely a lot more thinking involved for me in the shower of just okay, now I'm kind of numb in the front. Do I turn around to the back? oh, that's really cold. And then just
Yep.
it's just so much harder, where the plunge is just, I'm fully submerged. It's like hard for a second. And then I'm just focused and I'm breathing versus like that continuous stimulation. But I think use what you have. And even a lot of times last winter, I would bundle up and go for a walk. And then I would come home and we'd have lots of snow or whatever. And I would just like wear a tank top and my shorts and just shovel the driveway and get my a little longer. Usually if I was outside, it's not obviously as, I mean, it can be as cold, but it just doesn't feel the same as like being submerged in water. So I would usually shoot for like 10 to 15 minutes. It kind of just depended. Like once I started to like shiver and had that response, I'd stay outside for a little bit longer and then come in.
That's what I've been doing, Michaela. I've just been going outside in my tank top in the morning. So getting my morning sunlight and then, but I mean, like you said, it takes a little bit longer. So I shoot for 10 minutes and I just make sure I get shivering.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think if that's the best option for you during this challenge, everyone, especially like we're working on a lot of goals right now. So you could get your morning and evening light exposure and your steps and your cold exposure all in one by just, either probably the end of your walk, taking like stripping down versus the beginning, because then you might just be freezing the whole walk. So maybe like the last 15 minutes of your walk, if you're going on like a morning or evening walk, just take off your jacket and whatever you have on and just put it around your waist and get cold for the last 15 minutes of your walk. And I am happy to count that too, because I think the big piece with all of these habits is finding ways that they work for you in your life. And if you can stack as many as possible, like you're going to be way more successful, right? It's going to feel way more doable. So getting in your steps, getting in your light, getting in your cold exposure. That's one reason why I like having my cold plunge outside, is because I'm like, okay, I'm getting in, at least getting in like light, that morning sunlight, and I'm getting cold together. And last week I did get in the evening, and that's also great for the sake of this challenge. Like I really don't care when you do it, but what I have been learning through research and through just other people's experiences as well, and my own too, that morning cold exposure is going to stimulate a lot of dopamine. I think it's 10 times on average, just your normal dopamine production happens after you cold plunge, and it's for several hours. And so that's why you feel that elevated mood, elevated energy, like just a little bit different state of mind. And so that can be really good. And that combined with light, like our body knows it's daytime, is fantastic for helping with just staying on task, energy, mood, all of those things. But if you plunge at night, when I've done it at night, usually I'll take a hot shower after. But if you plunge at night and then you aren't, if you can be outside, that's great. Your body can sense that it is night. That combined with the cold, if you then go inside and like Henrietta, put on your blue light blocking glasses, then it actually helps your body to produce melatonin. So it can be really helpful for inflammation, because melatonin is very anti-inflammatory, and then also making you tired and more ready for sleep. So that is, so Jess was going to talk a little bit on today's call, but her internet kicked her off. So we'll see if she joins us or not. Oh, there she is. Perfect timing. So I wanted her to talk a little bit about her experience too, because she's been cold plunging for quite a while, and she also leads classes on cold plunging, and she has a lot of experience and education in breath work as well. And I think the two are very tied together. Like that is what I come to. And I think that's why I also love the cold plunge. It's 5 minutes in my morning every day that I'm challenged, and I come into my body and into my breath. And so being able to just breathe through a hard moment at the beginning of every day helps me with a hard workout, with a challenging conversation, with, whatever it is. I feel like I can just be present, tune in, breathe through whatever adversity that comes my way. And so I just love starting my day with that. But I thought Jess would be such a good person to share on that, because she does teach others about that. And she, practice what you preach. She's been doing it for a long time and has seen and felt a lot of benefits from that, so much so that she wanted to write her Coach's Corner email on that this week too. which was super fun and educational to read. So yeah, good timing, Jess. You're back.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Like,
We all have
shutting
plenty to
down,
say
shutting
ourselves
out.
too.
And then all of a sudden I couldn't get back onto Zoom. So sorry.
No, you're good.
So I don't know what you already shared, but I'll share a little bit about my own personal experience and why I fell in love with it. I just remember the first time I did it, it was at a workshop in LA before teaching a seminar. And they had an experience that was actually sauna and ice bath, which was really cool combo. So
Yes.
I love Michaela's setup. But
I'm on board.
the first like why I instantly like hated it and loved it. I mean, it's a love hate or like go with grit and do it. But once I got into a flow of it, it reminded me of the flow and the presence and the centering that I had to find with like an unmedicated birth. And I was like, I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with this.
Yes.
So it reminded me so much of that. And there's not many things, especially because I feel like my brain's always like going, that there's not a lot of things that just shuts that down for me. And so to be able to create the time and space and energy to literally create more space between a stimulus and a response. So instead of like hyperventilating or getting super stressed out about being in the cold water, to be able to come back to my breath and to find the slowdown. And if you've experienced any kind of cold exposure, I think it's also really fun to experiment like being in the shower and turning it cold and not paying attention to your breath and then trying to center into your breath, especially getting breath down into like your diaphragm.
Yeah, not just right here.
Yeah. No. Just slow your breath down and to nasal breathe. And it is pretty cool, like the stark difference that you can feel there. And so again, there's not much that just quiets that for me in that same way and just feels so empowering. Like Michaela was mentioning as I hopped back on, just surrendering to something that's challenging and doing it even when you don't want to do it. And that's sometimes life, right? But then the invigorating feeling when you are done and it just feels like you can feel the way that it reduces your heart rate, the way that it's an adrenaline shot, like you can just feel so many things instantly. At least that's what it is for me that keeps me coming back. But I also feel like over time, using it as a tool, because it's just another way to tap deeper into your breath, but then there's the scientific benefits, positives of it. But over time, what it has created for me is like putting that space of, okay, life's coming at me and how am I going to choose to respond into just with my kids, into conversations that I want to like gather my thoughts and like not be reactive. And so instead of living in a place that's reactive, I feel like I'm much more responsive than I used to be because I've figured out how to slow down and to activate like vagus nerve and breathing and down regulation instead of feeling like I'm always living in fight or flight. So fight or flight it might kind of feel like fight or flight in the cold, but what it does is like being in that, calming down so that when fight or flight feelings come in life, we can tap into the tool of breath, because once our body knows we can down regulate with breath, your body will do it. Your body can sense stress and it's like, oh, remember we have this breath tool, down regulate, right? And so it becomes more of an automatic thing instead of when we breathe up here, which is most adults just naturally because of compensations of life. When breath lives here, we are literally in fight or flight all the time. So learning how to down regulate has made such a big difference. So I just see it as, again, just another tool to tap into deeper breath work and tap into connecting to myself instead of just feeling in my headspace. And then I know too, when I am feeling ultra in my headspace, then I know I need to like somehow bring it down and be more connected with my heart space instead of feeling like I'm just a robot doing tasks, because we are so much more than that. And it doesn't feel good to live in a place where we feel like a robot doing tasks and we're just doing checklists, because it's hard to be present in that space.
I was going to say something else on that. I feel like for me, that's probably the most positive thing I have noticed. And I've talked about it a lot over the years on fitness. Like, I feel like I had that realization my freshman year of track and field. Our coaches wouldn't tell us what the workout was, right? So we would go to practice just terrified, knowing they were going to kick our ass that day and it was going to be super challenging. And that was the point. They wanted us to be like expecting something hard. By your senior year, you could we knew exactly what the coaches were going to program before they even programmed it, because we knew them so well. But freshman year, it was so scary. And I went to practice every day thinking, there's no way I'm going to be able to do today's 400-meter repeat workout, whatever it is. And, you have to run 400 meters and then we're on the clock and you have to recover in time to go again and hit the pace. And then you have your other teammates that you're running with that you're trying to keep up with, and you're trying to keep your composure. And so I learned so much that year in what I was capable of, and also how my mental, like my attitude affected my performance. And it was just the coolest experience. One of the coolest experiences of my life to see that when I would go into a challenging workout, thinking I was going to fail, usually I would do poorly. I would not be able to get up in time for the interval, or my coach would cut me at 6 instead of 7 intervals. And I would just be so frustrated with myself. And then the ones that I went into thinking I'm going to crush this. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to do amazing today. And I would just outperform myself, and I could keep my composure on our 30 seconds rest. I could breathe and I could just start right again. And then I would end up running paces that I just never thought were possible for me. And so seeing that gave me so much confidence that if I was able to find that calm when I was feeling very panicked, I was able to accomplish things that I didn't think I could do. And so that translated to me in the rest of my life so well. I took that into college, into school, into my first job, into my marriage, into everything. Just knowing okay, I've done some hard things physically and I know how to keep my composure there. And I know I can do hard things in life now. And I think that the cold plunge is something, I would say unmedicated birth, that really tuned me into that too. But the cold plunge, I think, is so cool because, we can work hard in the gym and do that. I think everyone here has probably experienced that when you push yourself in a workout and you're like, whoa, I lifted way more than I thought I could today. Or dang, I didn't think I would be able to even complete that 60-minute workout. And I did it. And I feel good. And just the feelings that come with that give you confidence in life, and they translate to everything you do. I think the cold plunge or cold exposure is a little gift we can give ourselves every day of, here's this challenging moment. Here can I find my composure and peace within myself in this challenging moment. And then you can take that to your workout. You can take it to just everything you do. And I think being able to do that every single day is just such a great way to fine tune that mental resilience. And I think that feels really good. It feels really good when you can keep a commitment to yourself. And so I think just that combined with finding that peace and checking in with yourself in a hard moment is part of what creates such a strong dopamine response. So if you're feeling nervous to do this, or it's not for you, think of all the other ways that you could potentially benefit beyond just decreased soreness and inflammation.
I think it's too I think it's compiled the confidence, the accountability, showing up for yourself. It's hard. workouts can be really hard too, but like once you're in the water and you commit to it, no one's doing it for you. Like you have to just be in there and do it and be accountable. No one's going to save you, but it's also that trust of like, we're good, I'm good, everything's okay. So it creates safety in something that's shouldn't feel safe, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's finding that peace within, and again, no one's coming to do it for you. And so it's just like, I got you, like, we're good.
Yeah. And that gives you confidence in other hard scenarios too, for sure.
I'm wondering, Jess, you have that I've done it for so long. Does it become easier, or is it just the same? Or is it
Mentally,
depending on day? Yeah.
it can depend. I mean, it just like, it can feel like if you do yoga practice, if you do breath work practice in other ways, other capacities, again, that's a good check-in point to be like, why does it feel harder today? Why does this feel more stressful today? You know, so that's a good check-in point. But we had our pump, something happened with it and they had to replace it. And I had been pretty consistent. And then I had like a forced break. I mean, I would do a cool shower, but it's not as cold as the plunge. And getting back in again was like, it's crazy how it showed me how adjusted I had become to it, even though it never was like, oh, this is so comfortable. But
Right.
where I had gotten to the point where I could just like slide in, go to my breath, and then getting back in after a break, I was like I had to like find my breath. It was crazy. Like, and it also showed me like, oh, that consistency absolutely makes a difference. Just like if you're training anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
So yes and no.
I think it's important to remember too, because we hear this a lot. Like everyone will say, "Oh my gosh, I hate the cold," or "I can't do that. It's
Yes.
really hard." But it's supposed to be hard. Like it's hard for everybody. Like getting in the cold. Like I've never met somebody that's like, "Oh my gosh, I love cold water." You know, I can't wait to jump into the cold. So just by keeping in mind, like it's supposed to be hard. Like if it wasn't hard mentally and it wasn't hard physically, then it wouldn't give us the reward that we're looking for. So
Yes.
it's kind of like taking a step back and being like, okay, this is hard, but I'm going to do it. But everybody thinks it's hard. You know, that helps me a lot before I enter out in the cold, just knowing like it's supposed to be hard, suck it up and just do it.
Yes. And I think that the people that say that they love it, it's not that they love cold water and they love challenge, like they love how they feel after, and they love that they can like come to their breath. And even when I'm in there, I mean, there's some days that are really hard and some days that feel easier, but even when I'm in there like that, like just breathing is kind of a special hard. Like it's, I don't know, I feel like it's hard, but I can do it. And I think having moments like that just like add up. So people love overcoming the challenge. And I think that is what people love. So if you're not there yet, my neighbor just did her first cold plunge. She came over this morning, her and her husband, and did it. She's like, I don't love this, but I'm going to keep at it. So, and I think, you know, just knowing that, like, it's okay if you don't love it, find your breath. That's probably the biggest tip. If you're feeling panicked, find your breath, try to relax your body and trust that you can do it. And then after, like, ask yourself, how am I feeling? Like, how do I feel? Like, reinforce that positive biofeedback too, so that you can tomorrow be like, okay, I'm going to feel awesome after I get in here. And so,
I think another
yeah.
tip would be, I don't know if you said this at all earlier, but music can be way helpful.
Yes.
So you don't have to pay attention to a clock and you're trying to do your goal time for the day. Find a song that's that amount of time or right around there. That's huge because it gives you something to focus on along with your breath. And then setting an intention goes a really long way. Like if you, before you step into the cold water, just saying like, it can be super simple. Like, I want to do this to feel more connected. I want to do this to feel empowered. Whatever. And you can come back to that intention when you're like, oh, I don't like it. You can say like, just come back to that centering intention. So, and that goes along with the mental mindset piece, because you remember the reason, your why and your intention, and that can help you through it too.
Yeah, I love that. And it's our last week of the 4-week challenge for those doing the Elevate Your Everyday. So huge congrats for those of you that are trying new habits, implementing new habits, or maybe they're habits you've done and you're getting more consistent with them and stacking them. So huge congrats there. This week's challenge winner is, let's see, it's Maria, but she didn't put her last name, Udvardi, I think. So I will message her and give her a shout out on the app. But next week, you're going to tally up week 4 points, and then I'll review everyone's points. And next week will be the grand prize winner. So next Monday's call, and we are giving away coaching with one of our coaches. So you'll get to choose which coach, and then probably start date will be anytime between next week and beginning of January. So we'll discuss more details on that on next week's call. I didn't even say what they won for this week. Did I?
No.
Okay. This week's winner won $100 to Lululemon. So congratulations for that. And Maria, I don't know that she's on the call. I will message her. And then everyone stay tuned for next week. So have a great week. Keep us updated on how you feel with plunging. Let us know the wins, let us know the struggles, and we are excited to share those with you. Okay, have a great week. We'll talk to y'all soon.